Hello everyone, welcome back to the tavern. Today we're going to be taking a look at a custom creation that I cannot take full credit for. This was inspired by some lovely people over on the Unearthed Arcana subreddit. The link to the original post is down in the description. If you do like what is here, go over and give that post and that author some love. They are the ones that heavily inspired this beyond anything else. I've just made a few little quirks to make it my own and give it a little bit of feel and flair. So I'll be going into all of that with this Sorcerer Subclass that I recommend that if you are a DM, you let your players attempt, see how it feels. And if you're a player, talk to your DM about, maybe for your next character. Adds some very interesting flavor for the game, and it gives the sorcerer something that the sorcerer sorely lacks. I know things type of subclass. A little bit more of a wizardy feel without the wizard mechanics and the wizard bookish stereotype. So let's jump right into it. This is called the Arcanic Heart. You have an innate connection to the weave, like others have a connection to breathing. I haven't really fleshed out all of the fine details there, but you learn additional spells, so this is the same base design as other sections, of still deciding what schools you could replace these with if you have the option to. The Sorcerer subclasses, some can, some cannot, some don't even have this feature at all. Right now, I'm leaning towards not letting the spells be replaced. The main reason being your 5th level spells, Dispel and Counterspell, kind of important. But we'll come to that. So, first level, you're picking up Gift of Alacrity and Magnify Gravity. Awesome 2 pickups right there. They're very strong overall. They help flesh out the character immediately. Let's make this a little bit larger for you. Help flesh out the character, immediately give you an idea of, all right, I can manipulate the weave in ways that it affects the world around me. I can pull eventuality out of the weave here and there. And I wanted to give these spells, A, because I liked the idea of in the Unearthed Arcana subreddit, and B, I kept them that way because it gives the sorcerer a magic-y feel right away. Arcane Lock, Magic Weapon, very good utility at that level. 5th level Dispel Magic and Counterspell. These are going to be some of the bread and butter for the Sorcerer subclass. 7th, so 4th level spells, you're picking up Arcane Eye. Excellent scouting tool. Highly recommend more casters pick it up here and there. Elemental Bane. And then finally, you're picking up your 9th level, and you get 5th level spells of Arcane, Big B's, Hand, and Temporal Shunt, another Dunamancy spell from the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. Awesome spell selection, in my opinion. I was not the one who came up with this list. I think it is fairly balanced, though. You do have some really glaringly powerful ones. Your 5th level is 2 awesome spells that you probably want to pick either way. 3rd level, you might not pick Arcane Lock and Magic Weapon, but that's okay. They're pretty useful spells in the right situation. That's really what the sorcerer is at the end of the day. Do you have the right spell for the situation? If so, use it. If not, use something else. Elemental Bane sort of falls into that same vein. I think Arcane Eye is something a lot of people sleep on. 1st level, Discerning Touch. And this was originally a 6th level feature in the Unearthed Arcana post. I recommended moving it down to 1, and I did so in my redesign of the subclass. The reason I moved it down to 1 is this felt like it's not game breaking at 6th level, and it's not even game breaking at 1st level. Unlimited times per day, no restriction on usage. You tap into the mystical essence of the arcane a little bit easier than others, and while touching an item such as a door, trinket, or weapon, you can spend 1 minute examining how the weave of the magic interacts with this item. If you do, you concentrate on the object as if concentrating on a spell, so it does break concentration. After 1 minute, you learn if the item is magical, and the school of magic, if any. So you get a detect magic effect on a 1 minute casting time, but you have to touch the item. So the restriction of identify of it being a touch effect, or a touch, you need to touch the item to determine what it is, with the only information being that of detect magic. I felt like this was good with the 1 minute restriction on there, so you can't just do this whenever. And instead, if you touch a creature throughout the minute of examination, you learn if any spells or magical effects are currently affecting it, and their schools, if any. So you can learn if your companion has been charmed or enchanted in some way, or the memory's been altered by modify memory, which would be enchantment school. So you can, or learn if they're currently trapped in an illusion or under the effects of a gesh. There's some very interesting things to do with it. The reason I moved it down for 1 was a flavor reason, though. How does someone realize they have this type of innate connection to the weave? They're handling something one day, and they just suddenly learn more about it than they thought. It's enchanted in some way. How did you know this was enchanted? You're just handling a wooden trinket at the garage sale. That is the interesting thing that immediately gives this subclass its flavor and its feel. And I love that idea of maybe a young boy learns that they're gifted to the weave in this way because of something they're handling. So it felt like something that the average Joe of an NPC character would learn about themselves and become an adventurer because of it. So I moved it down for roleplay reasons, and I don't think it breaks the game in any way because other classes have more effective ways at identifying things and the effects of things at this point anyway. The serious restriction of 1 minute time and the limited amount of information you gain hampers this enough that it's not going to break any game wide open. Your other first level feature in addition to your spells is Redirect Force. Whenever a creature within 60 feet is damaged by a spell, magical effect, or magical weapon, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage by 1d6 plus your charisma modifier. You get proficiency plus 1 uses per day. So you start out at 3 and scale up from there to 7. And you regain all uses on a long rest. The design of this ability came from the Unearthed Arcana. I really liked how it's set up. I wanted a little bit more uses per day because it does cost the reaction. And it doesn't scale. That damage, that dice that you reduce, is a d6 forever. So it has a huge swing early on, but it peters off eventually. And once you hit 5th level, you're gonna want to be able to have that reaction available potentially for counterspell as well. So the cost-benefit analysis that I sort of weighed on this was let it come up a little bit more often and let the sorcerer feel like they can do something with the reaction here and there, especially against magical weapons. If I was a DM and one of my players had this ability, I would let them make a perception check their first round to identify, like as their reaction when they see their ally hit, to see, oh, that weapon, it cut too quickly. It doesn't have any blood on it. The blood slicked off. It must be magical. I bet I can redirect the force from that. I would give them that opportunity to sort of have that feel in there. A lot of NPCs and monsters don't have magical attacks. So the magical weapon restriction is there just to expand the potential a little bit, especially against non-casting enemies. Because once you're at 5th level and you're against enemy casters, you could either counter the entire spell or reduce the damage to one ally for the spell. You'd probably rather just counter the whole spell. So I wanted to keep this magical weapon feature in there to make it have a little bit more cases of use. 6th level, and this is your big mainstay feature that you sort of have to exist on for the subclass from 6th all the way to 14. This is Devour Magic. Some of you've probably already read ahead. Whenever you successfully dispel an effect or counter a magical effect or counter a spell, you regain sorcery points equal to half the level of the spell, rounded up to a minimum of 1. So cantrips, 1st levels, and 2nd levels will give you 1 sorcery point back. 3rd level spells give you 2. 4th levels give you 2. 5th levels give you so on and so forth. You understand from there. The original had it round down, and I wasn't a fan of that because you are spending a 3rd level spell. I liked the idea that you're not only countering that cantrip, but you're able to pull back a little bit of that magic as well. And I loved that idea that there's other uses in the weave that you can draw essences from here and there and still get a little bit of return on that investment. Additionally, whenever you make a spellcasting ability check, as you attempt to dispel or an effect or counter a spell, you have advantage on that ability check. So as long as you don't, something's not giving you disadvantage, such as exhaustion or hex or something, then you get to make these checks at advantage. So you're a little bit more adept at those countering and dispelling. The reason I threw this in here, it's not going to break the game wide open. It's just going to make you a little bit more effective at what you're trying to do, especially as you gain higher level spells and you still want to spend your 3rd level spells on counterspell or dispel magic and attempt the ability check. You can do so with a little bit more confidence, knowing there's a better chance you're going to succeed and actually do the thing that you're trying to do. Because I mean, I love playing spellcasters. It feels really bad when you spend your entire action to cast a spell magic on the hold monster that's got the upcast hold monster that's got 3 of your party members locked down. It's a nasty feeling. It doesn't feel great. But at least this, when you're playing the subclass, you know you're a little bit better at manipulating the weave in that way. So you're a little bit better at dispelling that effect. All right, that's going to carry us all the way to 14th level, Gift of Invocation. This is pure party help. As you reach the level, you learn to bind latent bursts of arcane energy to your companions and shape it in certain ways. So at this point, maybe you've written your own language to do the spells. Maybe you know different glyphs and runes. You can use your roleplay mind to bring in different elements that you feel. Maybe you like playing a hag type character, and this is sort of like you give little trinkets to everybody. Here's the skull of a squirrel and a rabbit's foot dipped in ox blood and whatever. You can flavor this up however you want. The main thing on this is you spend 10 minutes applying these effects to your companions. A number of creatures other than yourself equal to your charisma modifier. So that means up to 5 if you don't have some type of epic boon. The glyphs last until you complete your next long rest, or until they're activated at any point before completing the next long rest. Each of those creatures can use an action on their turn to activate the glyph scribed upon them. You can also choose to spend an action on your turn and activate all currently inactive glyphs. So you can trigger all 5 at once, or all 4 remaining at once, or each of your companions can trigger their own. You cannot trigger those 3 and leave these 2 dormant, but you have that ability to at least get them all going with a little bit better action economy. Just cost you yours. The glyphs have a variety of features, though, and you do have to choose one and apply to all of them. You cannot mix and match, so one person can't get Aegis and the other can't get Overcharge. Either they all get Aegis, they all get Overcharge, they all get Dispersion, or they all get Preservation. Let's go through them. They all have this rider in here. The glyph is activated. It glows faintly. Should have in there to shedding dim light to a range of 5 feet. The rest of them all read it. So they all shed dim light to a range of 5 feet. The bearer gains temporary hit points equal to twice your sorcerer level plus your charisma modifier. Let's assume you have at least a +4 by 14th level. So you're looking at base 32 temporary hit points immediately when you hit 14th level and have used this feature. To 5 of your companions, or to 4 of your companions if your charisma modifier is a 4. If you have 5 companions and your charisma is a +5, you have 5 companions that just gain 33 temporary hit points for you spending your action. Pretty huge swing in health totals. Keep in mind, temporary hit points won't get somebody back up from 0, but it'll keep them from getting closer to 0 if they have 1. All right, so next one, Overcharge. Same thing, 5 feet range, dim light. Once per turn, the creature bearing the glyph gets a d6 force damage bonus on one of its damage rolls from its weapons. So if you have a primarily martial party, ranger, paladin, battle cleric, and a fighter, or a barbarian in there, whatever, and you're the main arcane caster, and you want to be using utility spells here and there, but you still want to contribute to the overall damage, maybe Overcharge is the way to go, because it lets you give effectively 5 party members worth of bonuses. The D4, I mean, the ranger might have a companion, so 5, and it is creature. So you can give 5 bonuses of a D6. That's 5d6 per round that you've contributed towards the fight. That's not bad. That's better than your cantrip. So you can use your action to do other things rather than have to feel like, oh, I got to help with the damage output. Interesting. Definitely good for a martial party. Dispersion. Same thing. 5 foot dim glow. When a creature bearing the glyph is hit by an attack, they can use their reaction and teleport 15 feet to a space they can see. So they get a half of a Misty Step, burning their reaction every round. So if you have a primarily caster-heavy party, this might be the glyph that you want to go with, because it helps your druid, your wizard, and your light cleric that's wearing studded leather because they're a dex build, all get out of combat when they get hit. Very cool. And it is by an attack, so it does not include area of effects, but kind of interesting. And you can trigger this going into combat, so that way as they rush in, or some of them rush in, or you guys get rushed, they have that chance to get out. It does only last for a minute. There are definitely some shenanigans players might be able to do with this, but by scaling up a cliff by throwing rocks at each other. But by 14th level, I don't think that's that game breaking at that point. You could also cast Fly on 5 companions, or across. You could cast on 3 companions, let them fly all the way up, and then cast it on yourselves. It's not going to break the game. If someone's doing like, I throw a stone at them, they take 1 damage, and they teleport 15 feet higher, you're going to be fine. Trust me. Last one is Preservation. Activated, same thing, 5 feet dim light. While it's glowing, if there is hit by a critical hit, it can turn that hit into a normal hit. This does not cost their reaction, of note. Effects that trigger a critical hit canceled. Once the glyph has been used in this way, it stops glowing. So it's one time only, but it is saying no to a critical hit. I think I would definitely use this when going in against either a massive horde. Like if I know we're going to be fighting skeletons, I might apply this to... It'd be this or Aegis to all of our party members. Or if we're hunting a pit fiend, or one enemy, where like 1 critical hit could be 40 or 50 points of damage, or Tyrannosaurus Rex, I want to be able to cancel that crit. That's more important than 28 temporary hit points, in my opinion. So Preservation might be the way to go at that point. Very cool, I think. Now, once you scribe 1 set of glyphs in this way, you can't do so until a long rest. So it's something to do each morning. Buff your party. They last until you complete the next long rest. Fine. It's all party buff. You don't benefit. So there's that. Last thing, Spellbound Unleashed. As a bonus action, you burn 8 sorcery points. Open the gates of magic within your heart and allow the raw power of the weave to flow through you. For the next minute, you gain the following abilities. Advantage on saving throws against spells, magical effects, and spell attack rolls made against you have disadvantage. All right. Basic protection stuff. Well, you are a being of magic. Magic is less effective against you. Whenever you use your redirect force ability, so that was the D6 plus charisma, it's now a D12. So that's why I said it doesn't scale up asterisks. When you reduce damage in this way, you can select an additional creature within 60 feet of you, not the creature that you saved some damage, to take force damage equal to the damage reduced. So not only can you absorb more of that damage, you get to redirect it. Here's where the other side of that redirect force is. Instead of releasing it and redirecting it into the weave harmlessly, now you have learned finally how to focus it, because now you are one with the weave. You know where that damage is going, and you can direct that stream. When you use your Devour magic ability, you gain sorcery points equal to the level of the spell that was dispelled or countered, rather than half. It would still be rounded up to 1, or a minimum of 1, but a little bit better at that Devour magic. And whenever one of your glyphs of invocation ability activates, you regain hit points equal to twice your proficiency bonus. Huge. If more than 1 glyph is activated at once, you regain hit points for each glyph that was activated. So, you have an action and you can pop all 5 glyphs at once. Assuming your proficiency bonus is a 6. Let's say Capstone, you've hit level 20, proficiency bonus plus 6. You're looking at 12 hit points per glyph at 5 glyphs, so that's a 60 hit point healing swing for you, like that. That you can do in 1 turn, because this is a bonus action to activate your form. You can bonus action activate the form and then dispel magic as your action. Activate all the glyphs as your action. There's some play here. Now here's the kicker, and I know what a lot of you might have thought right away. Just devour magic's going to feed more of these activations. That can't work because they'll get a bunch of sorcery points back and then they'll spend more to use spellbound unleashed again. You're correct. There is a drawback to this ability though that I added in because I think the ability is very strong and very iconic, and using it should be a special moment in the game. When this ability ends, you gain 2 levels of exhaustion. That's a lot of exhaustion. That cannot be removed by any means short of completing a long rest without casting any spells. That is a tough sell. 2 levels of exhaustion. Well, 1 means your all ability checks are a disadvantage. So that advantage from countering and dispelling, gone. It's a straight roll now. But 2 levels of exhaustion means you need 2 long rests to fully recover from a spellbound unleashed. So if at best, without risking death by levels of exhaustion, you're using spellbound unleash every other adventuring day. Now you might have 1 level of exhaustion from something. You might need to make that gamble. Is it worth taking 3 levels of exhaustion to solve this problem? Do I need spellbound unleashed right now? My health is at 4. I have 10 sorcery points. Should I burn my spellbound unleashed, pick up 3 levels of exhaustion, assuming I survive, just so I can pop all 5 glyphs, give all of my allies 33 temporary hit points, and I get to heal 60? Maybe that's worth it. It's that gamble. And I think that's what makes this such an interesting capstone, that there's play here. There's such an interesting dynamic that this can present. That's what's fun about it. And finally, overall feel for the Arcanic Heart was my goal was to have somebody who just knows magic and just feels it in themselves like anyone else walks or is able to pick up a glass or type on their keyboard. Not in the D&D universe, but Forgotten Realms. I don't think the artificers have invented keyboards as of yet. Depends on your homebrew setting. But the whole idea was to have somebody that believes so wholeheartedly with their conviction of will that they can affect the very innate weave of magic, that they can actually do it. That they are actually that powerful to be able to do so. So many people take charisma as attractiveness, of your comeliness to others. Charisma is also your force of will. It's your level of conviction. The Arcanic Heart Sorcerer is, in my eyes and my goal, with the few adjustments I've made and how I intend to play my first Arcanic Heart Sorcerer, the goal is your level of conviction with how well you know magic. It just works. It's not because you actually know magic. You don't. You aren't a wizard. But your level of conviction that you can affect the world by manipulating the weave actually lets you do it. And I think that's so much fun. I did build 1 character in D&D Beyond. I'll jump over, give a little bit of a spoiler on it. This is Pete Tamaki. He's quite an interesting little feller. And let me jump into the manage character levels briefly, so I do have all of it built in D&D Beyond. Let's jump over the abilities. Rolled decently, but I didn't like the stats. I wanted something abysmal. So I manually reduced one of those 15s to a 5. That is a roleplay decision, because I want Pete to be so damn stupid he doesn't understand that he doesn't actually understand magic. He thinks he knows magic so damn well that he actually does magic. And that just sounds like a fun character for me to play. So this is going to be Pete Tamaki. Take a look at the spells. A couple things right here. Arc, and don't think he has Fault right now. So definitely some very interesting. Why didn't I give him Fault? I'll give him Mind Sliver. Supposed to have Fault. There we go. 2 spells that are homebrew. Keep an eye out. I'm posting another video for those 2 spells, so you can take a look at them. Very fun. I recommend you test them in your games as well. But overall, I think this is going to be a fantastically fun character to play. Next time I do get to sit down and play pen and paper. And I'm going to be playing the Sorcerer with the spell point variant, where you use spell points to cast your spells. I promise you it does not break the game. I have looked into all of the research on it, all the playtesting people have done. It just lets the Sorcerer be more Sorcerer. You get rid of all of the flexible casting. You add your spell points. You add your sorcery points to one pool, and you can spend them interchangeably. That's how a Sorcerer should have been written. And it's going to be a fun character to play. I definitely think it's going to be very interesting to play a character that is so unintelligent that he's actually somewhat intelligent, or he thinks he is. Because I love puzzles when I'm playing a player character. I love to figure things out. I love to be a party face. I enjoy it. I like to try to help move the story along. But the chance to play the intelligent character that gets to roll that Arcana check and get a -2. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Because I know it's going to happen at some point. But being able to say, nope, I know that. Definitely magical. It's going to blow up in your face. And then it turns them into a sheep. I'm looking forward to these moments. And I think at the end of the day, that's what, for me, beyond power gaming and 3d6 builds and everything, I love playing D&D for the moments. The things that stick with you. The stories of when you're talking and hanging out with your friends 10 years down the road that you've made through playing such a wonderful game. You get to say, hey, remember that time you thought that door was not magical and you promised all of us and you bet 1,000 gold on it and then it blew up in our faces? Man, that was great. Because that's not, remember that time your character did that and my character did this. It's you and I. And D&D is about storytelling and making memories that last. And I think the Arcanic Heart Sorcerer has the chance to do exactly that. And I encourage more of you to make roleplay decisions like I've done with Pete, giving myself a stat total of a 5. Because it leads to interesting stories. And that's where we're all playing, isn't it? All right. Enough of my rambling. I hope you all have a wonderful time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my content to anyone you think might enjoy it. Let me know in the comments down below what you do think of the Arcanic Heart Sorcerer. It's not letting me share it out on D&D Beyond, so I will be putting up a file. I'll be updating the description after I put the file together with a PDF of the Sorcerer as well, so that way you could print it out, have it at your own table. See you all next time.